Daf Yomi. Daf Yomi. Tractate Bava Metzia, page 30b. Continuing from that Rav Yehuda says that Rav says that is written top of 30b with Lo yeh b'cha avyon. There shall be no needy among you. Deuteronomy 15:4. This verse can be understood as a command, indicating that it is incumbent upon each individual to ensure that he will not become needy. Therefore, your assets take precedence over the assets of any other person. The Gemara concludes, rather the verse is necessary to derive the exemption from the returning lost item in the case where he was an elderly person and it is not in keeping with his dignity to the item. Rava says, if there was a lost animal and the elderly person began the process of returning it, for example, if you struck it even once to guide it in a certain direction, he is obligated to tend to it and return it. The Gemara relates Abai was sitting before Rabbah, and he saw these goats standing nearby. He picked up a clod of dirt and threw it at them, causing them to move. Rabbah said to him, you have thereby obligated yourself to return them. Arise and return them to their owner. A dilemma was raised before the sages. In a case of a person for whom it is his typical manner to return an item of that type in the field, where there are fewer onlookers, but it is not his typical manner to return an item of that type in the city. What is the halakha? Do we say that for one to be obligated to return lost item, we need an unequivocal obligation to return, and that applies to all cases? And since it is not his typical manner to return an item of that sort in the city, let him not be obligated to return such an item at all? Or perhaps he is obligated in any event to return the item in the field, and once he is obligated to return in the field, he is also obligated in the city. What if it was just teku? The Gemara concludes the dilemma shall stand unresolved, and this would be the 143rd teku, I believe, in Shas. 143, according to the book of Rabbi Pessim. The Gemara concludes teku. Okay, Rava says, in any case where he would recover his own item and would consider it to be in keeping with his dignity, he is also obligated to return another's item. And it may, and any case where he unloads his own animal's burden, he is also obligated to unload the burden of another's animal. The Gemara relays Rabbi Yishmael, son of Rabbi Yossi, was walking on the road. A certain man encountered him, and that man was carrying a burden that consisted of sticks of wood. He set down the wood and was resting. The man said to him, lift them for me and place them upon me. Since it was not in keeping with the dignity of Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, to lift the wood, Rabbi Yishmael said to him, how much are they worth? The man said to him, half a dinar. Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, gave him a half dinar, took possession of the wood, and declared the wood ownerless. Wow. Let's go until he's declared the wood ownerless. Okay. Do a few more paragraphs. Call it a page. The man then reacquired the wood and again requested Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Yossi, list the wood for him. Rabbi Ishmael, son of Yossi, again gave him half a dinar, again took possession of the wood, and again declared the wood ownerless. He then saw that the man desired to reacquire sticks of wood. Rabbi Ishmael, son of Yossi, said to him, I declared the sticks of wood ownerless with regard to everyone else, but I did not declare them ownerless with regard to you. The Gemara asks, but is property rendered ownerless in a case like this? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah in Pei 6:1 that Beit Shammai say property declared ownerless for the poor is thereby rendered ownerless, and Beit Hillel say it is not ownerless until the property will be ownerless for the poor and the rich, like produce during the sabbatical year, which is available to all. As the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Beit Hillel, how could Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, declare the wood ownerless, selectively excluding the prior owner of the wood? Rather, Rabbi Yishmael, son of Rabbi Yossi, actually declared the wood ownerless to everyone without exception, and it was with a mere statement that he prevented him from requiring the wood. In other words, he told the man not to require the wood, even though there was no legal impediment to that reacquisition. The Gemara asked, but wasn't Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Yossi, an elderly person, and it was not in keeping with his dignity to lend to the item, to tend to the item? Why did he purchase the wood and render it ownerless in order to absolve himself of the obligation to lift the burden if he had no obligation to do so in the first place? The Gemara answers, in the case of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shmuel, son of Rabbi Yossi, he conducted himself beyond the letter of the law, and he could have simply refused to request for help. The Gemara cites the source for going beyond the letter of the law in performance of mitzvot. Rabbi Yosef taught in the Braita. With regard to the verse, and you shall teach them the statutes, the laws, and show them the path wherein they shall walk, and the action that they must perform, Exodus 18:20, the Braita parses the various directives in the verse. And you shall teach them. That is referring to the structure of their livelihood, meaning that teach the Jewish people trades so that they may earn a living. The path, that is referring to acts of kindness. They should walk, that is referring to the visiting the ill, wherein that is referring to burial, and the action, that is referring to acting in accordance with the letter of the law that they must perform. That is referring to acting beyond the letter of the law. We'll stop here and we'll pick up with part 2.